What's the number one challenge for businesses today?
Workforce development, attracting, recruiting, and retaining people.
And that's why we created this podcast, designed for the frustrated CEO, the under-resourced recruiter, or the overworked manager, to give you the tools to tackle those WTF moments.
It's time to open another workforce therapy file. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Workforce Therapy Files. Today we're on file number 13. Lucky
Woo!
number 13. Anybody else feeling lucky today?
I am.
I feel lucky. No, we don't want that for Molley. Today we're going to be talking about walking the tightrope of talent attraction.
I had to do that.
That's good
So-
soundtrack music for any time we get
It
together.
is.
Right
It is
there.
good. It is good. I want to talk a little bit about my early days, when I started recruiting when I was 12,
Right?
because we're going to say that, 12. I may need to go back to 10, but let's say 12. And high volume recruiting, call center environment, busy. The number one driver of candidates to the jobs that we had available. Guess where we posted?
Where?
The newspaper.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, you did.
And then we even had the little job newspapers. Do you guys remember those?
Yes,
Like
I
the
do
little
remember
8 by
those.
11 booklets that you
Yes.
could get at a coffee shop or a convenience store.
Yeah.
And the lead in on every one was now hiring in bold.
Immediate openings.
Bold Times New Roman.
Interview and hire in the same day.
Mm-hmm.
There was one time we designed these postcards and went to a conference and got the attendee list and sent postcards to all of these individuals to see. We didn't get a single bite. We sent probably 500 postcards. Wow. Not one bite. But we were trying to do something, anything different,
We did a billboard once, which I'm seeing a lot now.
Not-
A lot more billboards
Not measurable, by the way.
at all, even with the QR code, because how are you going to do that driving down the road? Don't try this at home.
You do it at stoplights if you do want to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, for
Actually,
sure.
yeah.
Not in Hospital Curve on I-65 South.
No.
We had one hire, and that billboard cost $10,000.
Holy cow.
One hire. One.
It's painful.
So I also want to add to this story, if I can, Molly. Not that long ago, probably within the last 5 years, I went to a job fair on a college campus.
Hang on. Okay, so a career fair for college
students.
Okay.
Because we had openings.
Okay.
right, at one college. And the way that the college marketed the job fair is it was basically for anyone, but we were specifically looking for interns in a specific area. I spent an entire day talking to people who could never join us for the roles that we had, who were not interested. They would come up to our organization and they would say things like, I'm majoring in theater. Well, I am not a theater, right? So I spent an entire day talking to people that had no relevant connection to the type of organization that we were in or the types of roles that we were hiring for. A whole day.
So at that point, you have to think, is it then just brain recognition that I've spent the last 6 to 8 hours promoting the organization as a whole and not...
That's really nice of you, by the way, to talk to those people who were just obviously not qualified.
Well, and really not interested.
Yeah.
It'd be different if, you can major in, let's say, English and go and work for an organization not doing English-related things, right? Because your college degree has a number of different topics that you explore. But if you're not interested in the kind of work that we're offering, like, what are we doing, right?
Well, and that goes to, that's an employer branding issue because they don't know who you are or what you do. So
That's right.
That's backing back out, zooming out and saying, well, who are we? First of all, before we go to this thing, let's make sure they know, does our brand say who we are? Does our logo show that?
Right.
Is our tagline descriptive? All those things, because let's not waste each other's time.
That's right.
The candidate's got other things to do.
But holy cow, we just named like 5 different activities that take a lot of time, energy, money, that got us nowhere.
Right. I think one of the greatest misconceptions in today's recruiting environment is where talent comes from, how to attract talent. What is it that, from a brand recognition standpoint, that we need to do to recognize opportunities within different companies and which levels within those roles? There are so many resources out there now that can help and hurt companies. So the impact of how they attract the talent has to be a focus. There has to be a plan. I know we've talked about that a little bit in previous episodes, and I know that we're going to talk about that even more in the upcoming episodes. Our case files. My apologies. So how do we attract talent today? I mean, is there even a careers section in the newspaper anymore?
I don't know. I can't even tell you the last time I read a newspaper, and that makes me really sad to say that, but I've gotten all of my information is from my phone.
Yeah, I think the only time, I mean, it's been a couple of years for me since I actually bought a paper, and I'm pretty sure it was just for the day after Thanksgiving ads.
For the ads.
Yeah. But to read it, I don't think that happened. So here we go. When you guys listen to this episode, if you could comment and let us know if there's actually still a careers section of the newspaper. It used to be a whole section all of its own.
Yeah. I found my first job after college circling an ad that
Me
was
too.
in the newspaper.
Yeah, me too.
Well, and that industry has taken a really slow turn into digital. They're really behind, but they are realizing that, and they're creating digital, job board options and that sort of thing. But it's, spoiler alert, it's too late.
The Kodak story.
Yeah.
Wasn't Kodak the first to be presented with digital picturing, and they didn't. They said
They're like, no,
aren't good.
people like to shake those Polaroid pictures.
Yeah. So, how to attract talent today? There's so many different options. There's so many ways to do it. A lot of organizations use Facebook, the social media, Instagram, Twitter. What's that other one? Instagram.
That other one, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You say Meta.
X.
You say Meta.
Meta?
Now to capture
Just
Facebook
call it
and Instagram.
call it all.
Well,
It's Meta.
Meta. That's it. Facebook and Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah.
X, formerly
X.
known as the artist formerly known as Twitter.
And I think the job boards that still exist that were popular back when I was 12, Monster, Career Builder, Dice.
Oh,
Do you remember
I forgot about
Dice?
for IT jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dice. I do not know that one.
All,
because
all
you're
of
not
these are
19.
still around, by the way. It was probably, when was it? Back in 2008, I believe, when Indeed started, and it became the Google. I'm air quoting the Google of job boards. So regardless of where you posted the job, it ended
Because it
up
scraped
on
from
Indeed. Right.
hundreds.
Brilliant.
Right? Yeah.
Brilliant.
So
What they decided to do.
I believe, one of the best approaches to get started with how to attract talent is to think in terms of not them finding you, but you need to go find them.
That's right.
So you need to,
Especially in today's job market, I definitely think it's a job seeker's market to find work. But
Yeah.
then you've okay. Well, how do you attract them? Well, what's the specific role? I think targeting, let's say, Meta. The talent that you're looking for is going to be characterized in a certain way, right? Whereas if you're looking for a C-suite, would you necessarily go to the social media platforms to post jobs outside of LinkedIn, let's say? Are there specific job boards that you want to post to for that? Or in those scenarios, is it what I call a network job posting?
I
It
believe,
is.
yeah, I
It
believe
absolutely
so.
is for executive roles, especially.
Yeah. The targeted marketing that comes along with jobs that you see trying to get filled with talent, especially in that essential worker category, I think is ever changing. Every day it looks different. Every day for the companies that actually create a plan for the positions that they have open, they know where the people are that fill the jobs that they have open, right? So when you think about, Jason, when you're working with an organization, what are the minimum expectations that you have in working with a recruiter or organization for a target position that they want to fill?
So when they come to the table with a position, we try to build, personas, candidate personas. So inside that, we say, okay, so what does your workforce look like now for this position? Let's describe them, and they don't all look the same. They don't all, have the same talents. So let's put them in some categories. Which ones are the best performers? Which ones stay the longest? They have the longest tenure. And we start to really drill into like, who do you really want to try to attract? Not just, are we just casting a wide net and trying to get anyone to fill this role? Or do you want people, like we always say, quality talent that's going to stick around, that you're going to retain? So, when it comes to, we're going to go down a dark path right here, folks. When it comes to,
I'm scared.
I know.
But it is the 13th episode.
It is the 13th. That's thunder.
I think if you have to say that's thunder after it, it's not a good
I
sound
know.
effect.
You
You know what I mean?
Jim, insert thunder sound. So, so with targeting, it's scary because we're all, a little on pins and needles when it comes to compliance and ensuring that we're doing the right things. So I will speak to this from the perspective of what is possible, and I think our friend at Parcel here, Jamie, will speak to what is appropriate. So I will tell you, I've got some information here from my team around targeting. And when you're looking at, let's say you're looking at Meta, you can target on age, you can target on gender. I'm saying what is out there.
Right.
Jamie's having a seizure.
Yeah, I was like, hang on, did he just say that out loud?
Yeah.
He did.
We'll explain more in a moment. Keep going. Sorry, Jason.
What is possible?
Yes.
What do they allow you to do?
There we
So
go.
that's what I'm speaking
That's-
to.
I
get it.
Here are the parameters. So age and gender are out there, but there are these micro categories, which can get you to those personas and the types of candidates without actually, going directly into it. So for instance, interests like gaming, live events, movies, music, reading. What type of reading? What type of books do they read? What type of movies do they watch? Family and relationships. Do we target on that? There are key indicators and targeting selections around dating, marriage, motherhood, parenting, all those things. Fitness and wellness things. What type of exercise? Food and drink that they're interested in. So you can drill into a lot of those things and kind of say, build, around the personas that you're targeting. Google will allow you to target age, gender, parental status, household income. Meta does not allow household income any longer, but Google does. So those are some of the possibilities out there. And this is the part where I shut up and I punt to Jamie
'cause
Swain.
I think Jamie and I are both sitting over here going, "Oh no, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that one either."
Well, I think it's because, first, I say this often, just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? But there are times to use some of the things that Jason just described. So if we were to actually, first we have to go into this accepting the fact that sometimes the things we've learned from our mentors and predecessors are not always based in what is required.
Yeah, because we can talk
Right?
about that.
I think it's important to first recognize that because, I've heard stories, and Molly, you've got a story actually
Yeah.
about how you thought this was just a role because of the way that it was handed to you, right?
Right. So we have a client, and they know exactly what's happening, where people are that work with them, all the things. And I called Jamie a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, okay, check me on this, right? Because I grew up in a very compliant driven, all of the I's, all of the T's,
Yeah.
must haves, all of the. You couldn't post a job in the in a specific religion newspaper without equally posting a job in all the other religions.
Oh, but think about that. How many religions are out there, right? Like
So
it's-
many.
Right.
So many.
So I think there are times to use some of the metrics or the demographic slices that Jason just talked about. So we have to first start by understanding what the EEOC requires. I would always recommend to the folks that are listening, all 13, including our moms, I would like to recommend to each of you that whenever you have a question about what compliance requirements are out there, that you actually go to the government websites to see or contact us. The eeoc.gov is a fantastic repository of information. And it starts with, we are not meant to discriminate against protected classes in our practices, okay? So it does mean that we're responsible for casting a wide net. So that's the reason we post jobs on large job boards, period, right? But it also encourages employers to do self-inspection about the spaces where certain demographics are not appropriately represented, especially for the locations that you're in and the type of work that you're recruiting for. And organizations where they have an affirmative action program, where they're required to have it, which can be for a number of reasons, either because they're required to by the EEOC or they're a government contractor or some other reason, those individuals or those organizations are basically required to do a couple of things. They need to understand what market exists in the areas that they're placed. They need to understand their current demographics for their organization and then do a comparison to try to understand where there may be gaps. So where we may have individuals, we have less females that are available for this kind of function, or we have less veterans that are available for this kind of function. And then do targeted marketing, affirmative actions to go and find those individuals. So in those situations, putting out an ad where you say, we are looking for females, and posting it and paying to boost it to females that are in the area that have interest in X, Y, and Z would be considered an affirmative action and recommended. It's when you have that as your only approach,
Yeah.
where you say the only people I'm going to hire are going to be females who are under 40 who have no children, right? Now we're doing stuff to discriminate against individuals
That's right.
rather than attract individuals.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's important that you do a couple of things, that you understand what the job is, that you understand your current population and the population that's available, and then create appropriate strategies around that. Does that clear it up?
I think so. And I would also say, word of caution, don't rely on your marketing team or your outsourced vendor.
Or what's available on the form that you're filling out,
yeah,
right?
or what's available in the tool that you're using. If you're in Meta and you're trying to build an ad yourself, don't just say, well, it's there, it must be okay to use it. Don't rely on those things.
That's right.
Your third-party vendors have a clause, like I do in my terms and conditions, that say I'm not responsible for these things, that sort of thing. So you're going to get that from vendors. Your marketing team's going to say, I don't know, you tell me what the rules are. I'll do whatever you need me to do. So don't rely on them. You need to do your own research, I would say, and check yourself before you wreck yourself.
And check your motivations. So part of the conversation that we had was we were talking about geography.
Yes.
So it's one thing for me to say, hey, here's my zip code. I would like to do this ad within 30 miles of my zip code. But if it's the zip code next to me, and I know that population on average makes about $4 less an hour and is predominantly of a particular demographic, it can start to look like I'm putting a campaign together to target individuals who are of a particular demographic that would be willing to make less. That starts to look like an abuse of the abilities to be able to put together your strategy. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And layering onto that, I would say that the other side of that is you can exclude demographics or geographic areas. So, be sensitive to what you're excluding as well as including.
That's right.
Because targeting, there's the anti of targeting, which is I'm not targeting these. Exclude this group of people or this region of this area out of, my ad placement. So, think about that as well.
But I really liked what you said about the ability to do it based on interests or the types of things individuals are accessing.
Yeah.
Because if you really like Legos, I'm just going to use that as an example, and I have an organization that's trying to hire for people in complex assembly, then that might be the perfect person to put this kind of job in front of. Now I've got an ability to target this group of individuals that really love Legos. I can put my job ad in a way that says, hey, are you the kind of person that loves putting things together on the weekends? Have you built the 18,000 piece Harry Potter set? I don't know.
Listen,
but you can write your job ad in a way that helps people picture them doing the kind of work that you're doing.
So for our listeners, that was a freebie.
That was a freebie.
Yeah. Good one. Jamie, you did good. Jason,
Well,
you can use that one if you need it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just wrote that down.
Legos.
Gaming too. Like
Yeah.
for instance, gaming. Like, I mean, if you're developing video games,
That's right.
you might want to select people who are interested in gaming. That's how do I use these things? There are other. We were doing work with someone who was hiring someone. I forget the product they were selling. It was a high end, a very expensive, exclusive product, and we were targeting people who were adjacent to that. So meaning they were interested in yachts. We might have been selling fancy suits, but we were targeting people who are interested because they're in that same, we're trying to get there without getting there. Maybe fancy suit likers wasn't one of the target demographics we were able to
That's not a
select from,
checkbox.
but people who are interested in yachts or investing or, those kind of
Right.
things. So, there are things you can do like that to really think outside the box on these things. Use these demographics appropriately. They're not meant to exclude groups. They're not meant to target certain races or genders. They're meant to, use them softly to try to find the type of people who you tend to hire or who tend to enjoy this type of position and thrive in it.
But
So-
I think also to encourage you to do what Molley did, and that is basically, so be like Molley. In a world full of Jasons, be a Molley. That's what I'm telling you.
Hashtag.
Okay.
So when you look at these options and you find yourself trying to determine the best strategy to put together, ask yourself why you shouldn't do what you've chosen, right? Like just gut check yourself, find somebody that you trust to have that conversation with, because there are always unintended consequences that can create challenges for you, and I think it's worth exploring those things.
So you said something in that statement, strategy. One of the greatest opportunities for any organization, big, small, corporate, all the things. If you don't have a plan for how you're going to attract the talent that you need to fill the positions, don't get disappointed when you have a poor interview show rate, when you have a poor orientation return from lunch number. Because just as your organization runs, you have to have a plan for talent attraction. You have to know where these individuals are coming from. You have to know internally why your people are staying. That's like, I'm going off on a soapbox here. Give me a second. People will talk about, well, we do exit interviews. Well, do they actually show up for the exit interviews? Because if I'm leaving, it's past the point of what does my voice matter? So having stay interviews with people within your organization to help you understand, how are they attracted to the job? Was it an
Every
employee
day. How are they reattracted every
right,
day?
every day to come back?
Yes.
It's a commitment besides their paycheck. So when you think about where the talent is, how do you find them? What was the experience for candidates that we have our internal folks go through? Hear from them so that you can build out the plan and understand where you need to be, how you need to be, and what you need to be doing to attract the talent. Because this is the way we've always done it. Isn't going to work. You've got 5 different generations in the workplace.
Yeah.
None of them are going to look for a job the same way.
Yeah.
Especially in your high volume industries like manufacturing, construction, long-term care. Any of those positions are going to be a skilled labor workforce, and none of them are going to look for the job the same way. So you have to present a very strategic and targeted approach to talent attraction in all the different ways that we have today.
So let me ask you a question as we wrap up.
Okay.
And this is for both of you. A lot of the clients that I work with, their budgets for recruitment, regardless of having a requirement to recruit, are not what they should be. So if you are in a situation with a low recruitment budget, where would you invest your time and energy
Me,
on any of these strategies that people use today?
employee referral program.
Employee referral program. Okay. Very good. Jason?
I would fill your funnel, start filling your funnel a little deeper and not at the top. So really targeted, like Google search ad type stuff, like people that are looking for you, people that are looking for your job, instead of trying to cast a wide net. I'd do that. Referral is a really good idea because you've got great people right around you that you probably don't even know about. And I would use the analogy, like I sometimes use the analogy of fishing when it comes to this work because, you know, to Molley's point, like some people are fishing without bait. Like there's no
Yeah.
worm on the hook. Like
That's
what,
right.
what that you threw the hook in the water, but why would a fish bite a hook?
Right.
And some people go all the way back to the beginning of our conversation with newspapers and old school. Some people go to the pond with their pole and a bucket, and they're hoping the fish are just going to jump out of the water. Well, I've got a bucket. Why aren't they in it?
Right.
And
Well-
then they go the next step. Okay, well, I guess I need to cast this line out there, but there's a hook with no worm. And then maybe the kind of fish you're trying, maybe catfish don't like worms.
Yeah.
Maybe they like chicken livers. You can tell I'm country boy. You know, so it's like,
I
well,
that we've
you know,
just brought
let's,
chicken livers into
Yeah.
our podcast. That's amazing.
right.
I didn't have that on my bingo card, but I'm glad to have heard it.
So you can go down a rabbit hole with that analogy, but you know, the point
Well,
there
I'd
is-
like to expand on it real quick.
Okay.
It's just kind of a final thought because anybody in the HR world that's gone through affirmative action plan or EEOC training as it pertains to recruiting is regularly told to cast a wide net. The reason we're told that is because we are educated to know that we need to make sure our opportunities are available to individuals of varying demographics. I'm going to expand upon Jason's analogy to say, yes, cast a wide net, just make sure you're in the right pond, right? Or river, whatever,
Yeah,
body
preach
of
it.
water. Because what Jason's saying around interests and geography and those elements that help you hone in on individuals that would be likely to enjoy working for your type of organization. It's good to be able to target those individuals and get your opportunities in front of them.
Yeah, I agree. And bring more poles to the creek.
That's right.
And I think that's that's a big part of it. You know, you have to be able to understand varying ways to attract the talent that you need for your organization. You need to know the validation of the people that are working there. So what do they like? What do they read?
Yeah.
What are they watching? What are their interests? Absolutely. But then how can you also add another layer of diversity in all of those aspects in different ways to attract talent for the positions that you have open?
That's right.
I want to make sure that we're all talking to and thinking from a strategic standpoint, because recruiting is no longer a post and pray mentality. You just can't. You have to be very specific in what it is that you know that you need to fill positions and how you're going to do it. Because once your candidate sees the job posted, it has to be consistent across all points of interest. Like to your point, Jamie, you can't post a job in this area that's $4 less an hour with less benefits, et cetera, than you are in option 1, 2, and 3,
Right.
let's say. So consistency of deliverables when you think about EEOC, affirmative action, how you attract talent, making sure that strategically you know what that looks like so that your candidate experience is consistent with the messages that are being brought from a marketing standpoint to all of the people that you've got applying for jobs.
That's good.
Closing thoughts?
I think you wrapped that up for me.
No, get out there and go fishing. Be smarter about it. Bring the right bait.
Hashtag chicken lovers.
Hashtag chicken livers work for catfish.
So, I believe today for file number 13, I don't think it was spooky at all.
No.
Seems lucky.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
going to be lucky number 13.
Lucky number 13.
Yeah. So, Jim, let's close this walking the tightrope of talent attraction file.
Thanks for listening to the Workforce Therapy Files. We hope you learned something new, and we're thankful for the time that you spent with us today. If there's a topic you'd like us to discuss, reach out to us. Our contact information's listed in the show notes. Until next time, keep your head up.